A table can be given a name with createTable, and that name can be forgotten using dropTable. We've already seen createTable statements, but there's an alternative version that we haven't looked at yet. Here, from the SQLite documentation, is the complete syntax for a createTable expression. You can write createTable or createTempTable or createTemporaryTable. You can optionally include if not exists. After that, you can write down schema names, table names, column definitions, table constraints, etc. Some of these are in fact compound expressions. For example, a column def means you're writing down a column name, a type name, and a column constraint. You can have multiple column constraints and the type name is optional. A column constraint is one of many forms. You could give the constraint a name, say it's a primary key, not null, unique, check, default, collate, foreign key clauses. There's really a lot to a createTable expression, but we're not going to focus on all of it. That's for a databases course. Instead, we'll just focus on the version we've already seen, where you say createTable, give it a name, and as select statement, or a version where you create an empty table. So we're going to ignore all of these parts of the syntax and instead just focus on what's left over in black. You can write createTable. If you want to make sure you're creating a table that doesn't exist already, createTable if not exists creates a table only if that name doesn't exist already. You give the table a name, and then you can either write as followed by a select statement, we've seen that before, or you can specify the columns directly by enclosing in parentheses a list of column definitions. A column definition involves naming the column and applying 0 or more column constraints. The only column constraints we'll worry about for this course are that you can say the values are unique, and then an error will be raised if you try to put the same value twice in the column. And you can give a default value to a column, and this default value is used when we insert new values into a column. So here are some examples. You could create a table of numbers with a column n and a note about each number n. I could alternatively create a table of numbers where I specify that n is unique, so I can only have one note per unique number n. If I want to make sure there's always a note, I might set a default value, such as no comment. Now you might wonder what's the use of an empty table. Well, soon we'll see that you can add new rows to an existing table, and so it won't be empty forever. dropTable is simpler. That just removes the name that exists already from a table. So you write dropTable and then the table name. We won't worry about this detail of the syntax. And if you want to only run this if the table already exists, then you can write dropTable if exists. Now, if without this if exists clause, if you run dropTable on a name that doesn't exist, you'll reach an error.